All right, so Something Cool here with Kate Grom. How you doing?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. Congratulations on your first album, Heroin.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Can you tell me a little bit about the album?
Sure. The album was entitled Heroin after a quote by Nora Ephron. It says, "Above all, be the heroine of your own life and not the victim." Um, I began writing the record a couple years ago and, wrote it between New York, Nashville, and even spent time in Paris where I wrote a lot of the album. And it is sort of a experience from start to finish. It's a full length record. um, I would say it's been described as emotional and stirring, and yeah, I can answer any specific questions you might have about the record.
Now, I know that your uncle was a big influence on this. He attended Woodstock and introduced you to a lot of great classic rock bands.
Absolutely. Yeah, my uncle was sort of this ride or die Harley guy. Experienced Woodstock to the fullest and really imparted a lot of just information and great music to me over the years. He used to pick me and my siblings up from school, and the whole way home was a little bit of rock and roll history. He loved, Fleetwood Mac, the Stones, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, America. Bob Dylan. He just had a great ear for music, and I was really lucky to learn so much from him at a young age.
It's very cool. I always enjoyed the classic rockers myself. I mean, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I love what I do here. I get to chance to listen to every new artist that's coming out there. That's how I discover people such as yourself. But
sure.
when I get my downtime, I'm going right back to the classics. That's for sure.
Me too. I think I always, kind of go back, and it always is a rewarding listen.
You know what I think this day and age that these kids aren't going to have that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, some of these bands I could see that are coming out nowadays might have the opportunity to have the staying power, but I don't know if there's ever going to be another Ozzy or another Mick Jagger or another The Who. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like those people have been more pop stars in most recent years, as opposed to great, rock and rollers or Joan Baez type folk singers that had a big message to deliver.
See, that's what I enjoy about your sound. It's not, the go-to pop. It's not the bullshit, so to speak, of what everyone's trying to throw down your throat.
I love that you just said that because
It's
I agree with you.
it's actual great music. I mean, I listened
Oh,
to it myself and I loved it.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now, you traveled quite a bit. You were saying when you were doing the recording process of this album. I mean, did each area that you were in influence different parts of you when you were writing?
Absolutely. I grew up on a farm in New Jersey, and there's a very rural countryside here. And, as a kid, I grew up surrounded by the horses that were on my family's horse farm. And there was just sort of this peace and quiet and ability to go get lost in nature. And I think quiet was the norm. When I moved to cities like Nashville and then specifically New York later on, there's just a different energy there. Not only different styles of music that I was exposed to in different scenes and art cultures there, but just the general surroundings are so much different. New York, there's a lot more noise, a lot more chaos, which I think influences just the emotion when you're writing. And I think that's the same, case now that I've come full circle. I recently moved out of New York, and I'm back at the farm where I grew up on with my husband. And now that I'm there, I'm sort of starting to notice this more comforting and peaceful sort of inspiration to the writing process. So yes, not only the surroundings of where I have moved to, but the encounters and the experiences that have happened while there are very influential.
Now, you mentioned that you grew up around horses. I seen you're quite the bit of the equestrian, and you do charity work. Actually, is that right?
Well, I actually am. I am actually a world champion and national champion rider, just because I grew up doing that. But I have done charity shows in the past for the horses. There's a couple foundations that I love to support, and when I have an opportunity to support them, I do. And one of them is called the Saddlebred Rescue. The breed of horses that I grew up around are called American Saddlebreds. And it's a great program that allows horses that are being sent to slaughter or just being dumped, or people can't afford to feed them, things like that. It gives them a chance to have a new life and a home.
Now, somebody that's grown up on a farm, you living on a farm now, you're a championship horse rider. You would expect that you would have been more of a country singer, so to speak, rather than the style that you've gone for.
Sure, I think that that's something I notice a lot now that I've started getting more involved in like social media, and I have the ability to just take note of what other artists that love horses are doing, and the majority of them just are country singers. Whereas my music has never been straight country, although there are lots of great country singers who I was influenced by vocally and in terms of the storytelling. But there's been so many other musicians of the folk and even rock genres that have influenced my music. So I think to put it just in the all my eggs in the country basket, you're correct. It wouldn't fit.
Now, when I was reading about you, I know you spent the last couple of years touring before the release of the album. Are
Yes.
are you going to do more touring now to promote the album itself, or are you going to take a break and record something new? Or
That's a great question. So, the album was released in February of 2017, and I had been touring prior to that and playing shows to promote the record before it was released, and then I continued touring after, actually up until my last show was right before Christmas. Um, so I'm taking a break just, for the next couple of months to kind of just get reorganized with, what's next. I'll definitely be writing and playing more actively as opposed to being in the performance mood and mode. But I do plan to go back out and tour again, probably in the spring of this year.
great, great. Now you're probably realizing now that it's something that you have to do as tour. Basically, I mean, you see some of these bands that go on the road for forever. Basically, it seems like because
Yeah.
of the fact that the internet allows these people to download your album, and you're not making any of the true money that you could have in the past.
It's so true. It's almost like the creativity is and the art behind the music takes a back seat when you think about how much energy really has to be dedicated towards the touring. But touring is awesome. Playing shows is an art and energy. It's part of the whole process, but it has to, I believe, now more than ever, be the main focus of a truly successful artist's career, or at least one that's trying to make it out there and get heard.
Now, I've spoke to a few different musicians about this topic, and one thing I've come to realize is the songwriter is the one who suffers the most in this generation of downloading. The touring artist can go ahead and go hit the road and go ahead and do that, but with these people that are downloading the album for free and not getting the airplay that it once should have, the songwriter
Yeah,
suffers.
absolutely. And that's something that is, sort of hard to swallow, and it's uncomfortable, and it's sort of a shame. Um, because if anything, those people should be getting the most credit.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's you'd be surprised that some of the artists that don't write their own material.
Oh my gosh, so many. And I've co-wrote for the first time ever for this album, which I was very awkward about. I'm definitely more of an introvert with my writing, so to do that was strange. But I always, those songs that were co-written that made it onto the record, it's very important to me to share the love of the people that wrote them with me. It's not just one person in there. It's so important to honor them and publicize them in a way that they don't always get.
Now, how did you find the people that you co-wrote the albums with?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, how did you go about finding the people that co-written some of the songs with you?
Sure. It was a little bit of a process. I had been working with a manager, and it was a couple of years ago when I first moved to New York. And I originally wasn't going to co-write at all, but he just was like really pushing for it. And I was like, well, this is a great opportunity for me to learn more and just, you know, do something that is uncomfortable for me as an artist. Which, I got to Nashville and realized, wow, this whole songwriting thing is just a wheelhouse of its own that, I was not used to. Um, I found a couple of well, I don't know if I found them or necessarily my demos were sent out to I guess it's a publishing house that sort of represents some of these writers, and I got placed with two or three that they liked my music and were like, I love these things, these songs, and I could write more like this with Kate if she wants to. And then there was others that I knew already that were friends of mine because I actually went to college at Belmont in Nashville. So I actually just called up some of my friends and was like, hey, I know we always talked about writing in college. Let's actually make that happen. And we did.
Now, is there ever a bit of a back and forth when you're going ahead writing a song with someone else? I mean, a lot of these ideas could be something personal for you, and they want to change something one way or another.
Absolutely. There's moments where I've really had to. I've actually left co-writes before where it wasn't awkward or rude or anything. It was just sort of like, you're so talented, but this is just not. We're not connecting creatively. We don't. We're not imagining the same thing for what this song is supposed to be. So maybe let's just go back to the drawing board with something else, or call it a day. And that happens all the time because it's so important for your like. And then when I first started, I went into one co-write where the song was, starting off one way, and that was the icing on the cake for me, where I was like, okay, I got to speak up because this song is like, I hate it now and I loved it before. Um, and a lot of that just has to do with authenticity and what feels true to you as a person. It can be hard to, uh, you know, just stay like really true to what is supposed to be happening in the songwriting process, especially when you've been writing for a long time and your mind's a little bit tired. Um, yeah.
Now, you mentioned you're a championship horse rider. Did you have fans before you came out as a singer?
I would say that I had fans in the horse community that knew me as a, world champion rider. And I actually run our breeding farm here in New Jersey. I help our staff here with managing the brood mares and the foaling. So I think people knew of me from that world for sure. There's just a really supportive network of equestrian people that have really, really loved the music. So yeah, I would say to a degree, there's been a good solid network there.
Awesome. Now, are you
Yeah.
are you big on social media? Do you enjoy it?
I have a love-hate relationship with social media because I'm such a personal person, but I find that I have to share all the time. in order to keep the ball rolling, so to speak, with my music career. Um, so I'm on Instagram. I've started managing my own social media accounts again. Whereas I had help with them for a little while because I was getting married this year and moving and building a
Congratulations.
house and on chores. So my life was a little wild. So I'm back at the reins with those again, and yeah, I would say it's a love hate relationship for sure, but it's a necessity today.
It's got to be definitely hard to balance it out. I mean, when you want to be a person and you want to have your own little Facebook account just to keep up with friends and family and things like that, and
Yeah,
then you got to have another for the public to go ahead that's gonna ask you every question in the in the world.
totally. And one of my favorite things is to talk to fans and hear what their stories are and how they're responding to the music. But I feel like there's just something that gets lost in translation when you're on a device. I love just a good old phone call or looking someone in the eye when we're talking. It's so I think that I struggle with that sometimes, and yeah, it can be hard to manage just multiple accounts when like you said, you want to have your private family things and then things that are more public. So yeah.
See, I hate to say this. I mean, but I think music kind of lost its luster, so to speak, with social media. I mean, it's great that fans get a chance to interact with people that they've never had the opportunity for, but you kind of lose that mystique. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
years ago, you wouldn't see the Rolling Stones sitting there on a Twitter account. You know what I mean? You would hear
totally.
the stories of what these great musicians were doing and hope that it was true, and that's how rumors get started. Now
Yep.
I could find out what you had for breakfast if I feel like clicking the, the link.
Definitely. I've always been a big fan of mystery, and I feel that that's actually something that even running my accounts, I have to think about and strategize. Like, well, what is enough? What information am I sharing that is still mysterious? That's just a little snippet of what you might hear when you listen to the record, or when you read more about Kate Grom, the artist. It's um, I think mystery is a good thing. I don't think it's at all a way to try to keep things or be cool or whatever. I just think it's fascinating, and I think it's a part of art. But like you said, it's social media, and a lot of even the music on there has lost its luster. Anybody in the world can uh, be a Instagram celebrity now, it seems, and it sort of can feel like a slap in the face when you've really put a lot of work and energy into something. Um, so that can be, yeah, it can be a little crazy sometimes on the internet for sure.
Well, it's got to be hard to figure out what you got to put up there. I mean, you got to give the fans enough to keep them satisfied, but you don't want to be constantly down their throats, and then you're going to have people that are always going to feel that there's not enough because you got the people who want to be insta famous on the Instagram that are taking the photos of the meal they just had and what they're
Yeah.
doing every second of the day.
Yeah, you really do have to. I think it's a fine balance of, even fans. Like, am I oversaturating them with content? And, what do they really want to know about or hear about? So there's a lot of thought that goes into, social media.
I mean, but like I said, it does have its benefits. I mean, there's no MTV anymore. There's no chance to go watch a channel and see music videos or anything like that anymore. But now you have a platform where you can go ahead and send it to every person you know. You know.
Absolutely. It's really good exposure, and it's generally free. And you have access to the world essentially at your fingertips. It's just, how can you get your stuff seen, at the top of everybody's list. That's what's hard for me.
Oh, for sure. Not. Now, with that being said, people want to follow up. They want to know more about you. They want to hear the album. They want to see the videos. They want to find out when that spring tour is going to happen. Where are they going to go?
They're going to go to my website. They can also find out more on my Facebook and Instagram pages. My website is just www.kategrom.com. That's kategrom.com. And I am on Twitter and Instagram as Kate Grom Music. And I'm also on Facebook as Kate Grom. And I keep pretty active with updating all those things.
Now, no, there's links to all your social media from your main website. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Perfect. So, kategrom.com will be a one-stop shop to get everything you need. I see that you have your music videos up there. You keep up to date with the fans with news, and you're gonna let them know when the tour is gonna start back up.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Kate, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Enjoy your downtime while you can, because
Thank you.
you're definitely gonna have a whirlwind career in front of you. I loved everything I heard, and I know that you're gonna be quite busy.
That's so sweet. I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me and thank you for checking out the music.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.